I recently posted a few screenshots of maps with a few vanilla tricks, one of which I'd like to mention is the trick in map 05 of Precipitous, one of my WODs. I got some form of sloped lighting to work in vanilla, and I also have an isolated version of the trick which I'll open up in EDB real quick. So the reason me making this video is because a few people were asking for a better explanation or actual tutorial for the trick because I mentioned it elsewhere. I've done a little bit of extra work to figure out how to get these to work properly first try, but now I think I understand a bit better to the point where I'm comfortable making a tutorial on how to do it properly. This isolated version is slightly different from what is in Precipitous and will definitely crash in vanilla, but it works in limit moving. So I'm going to start by creating the slope lighting trick. You should draw the lines in order of what will be rendered, and I have an image to visualize this. You should draw in order so that you don't have to manually set every line index. Keep in mind I'm using ZokumBSP, which is based off SendNode, and so if you're doing this with other node builders, this may not work consistently for you or at all. If you don't understand the image, let me explain. The lowest part section here is going to be the lowest line index, and it must go up in ascending order. If you draw in ascending order, there should be no issue with the line depth indexing. Now, to the actual execution of the trick, this works like this. So we're going to start with slope lighting. You're going to draw the sector first, 384 by 256. It doesn't have to be that exact size, but that's the size on the left side of this example. Then after that, you're going to draw the sector you want to use this effect as a part of, so in this case the light. So we're going to set 4 to 64 and scaling to 128. Make sure to set the upper and lower textures to unpegged. So I'm just fiddling with the textures to make it look a little better. So give me a second. I'm going to set the brightness to 192. And then we're going to draw 2 pixel barrier to the side. I'm using 2 pixels in this example, but you can use 1 pixel, 2 pixels, or any other size, and it will work if done properly. So I'm merging the sectors by clicking on both of them and pressing Shift J, and it will join them. And then I go into Make Sectors mode and click on them. Next, we're going to enter Stair Builder mode. Under the side section, click back and type 2 in the sector depth box. We're going to use 63 sectors, but it's 64 total because we're building off of another sector. For some reason, EDB still set textures on the upper and lower end, so I'm going to remove them real quick. You should have the paint selection function bound to your mouse or something, but if you don't, you can do it here or bind it to something else. Make sure you're holding shift while doing this, so that way it's additive, and don't go into visual mode, otherwise it'll mess it up. In 2D mode, right click on any of the selected sectors. Don't right click on an unselected sector, because it will unselect every selected sector. Once you've done this, type into the soling height +++1. Make sure you have 3 plus signs, not 1 or 2. And in the floor height, do -1. Remember 3 minus signs. Then press OK, make sure it's good, and then go back. I'm using U and L, which are the default buttons to upper and lower unpegged walls. You need to do this so it lines properly. Now I'm just changing the brightness on all the sectors so the lights fade out. Again, I'm using Control and scroll wheel to change the brightness. I'm deselecting it by holding Control and dragging. You can use Control A for auto align. Now I'm making the border sectors shaped like triangles at the edge here, so that way it renders properly. And when that's done, select all of the line depths at the edge, start to drag it, and then hold Control, and then set it on top of the other sides. That makes it so they all overlap, and you won't have to see it jutting out slightly or anything. As you can see here, it runs in vanilla. If you want to see what happens when you don't make the triangle sectors, let me show you. Now we're going to move on from slope lighting to the overlapping lighting trick shown earlier in the video. I'm just going to make a 384 by 384 square here. It took me a while to find the texture, so I'm just going to speed it up. Now that I've actually found the texture, we can start making this thing. So assuming you're using UGB, we're going to position ourselves at the same pixel as where the light begins on the texture, so we can go into 2D mode and then draw a vertex there so we know where to start at each light on the texture. In vertices mode, I'm holding shift and right clicking at the same point in 2D mode I think the light starts. I'm going to speed up this process because it takes a while, but you should know what to do. Just position yourself in 3D mode, hold shift and right click at the points in 2D mode you think the light starts. Now that we've got that done, we're going to draw more sectors on the inner part of the lights, so that way we can lower them to each part of the light. Doing it this way, we can have different brightness levels for each part of it. You could use this elsewhere as well. For example, you could change the textures of certain parts, so you could have like some sort of thing with overlapping patches without multiple patch textures as well. From here on, I'm going to align it with the texture, so I will speed up this part as well. Make sure all of the textures are lower on peg so you don't have to manually align them vertically. So we're going to draw two borders here. Why do we need two instead of one like in the previous example? I don't know, but I've tried it with only one and it didn't work, so use two borders just to be safe. Here I messed something up, but just Ctrl Z your way out of it and you'll be fine. You can copy and paste the lines, but occasionally you'll have to still redefine the indexes on some. Now that we have the full setup done, you want to make a split in the middle, going up to the first border but not the second. If you don't do this, it will also mess up, which I still don't know why. All I know is that it messes up. Now I'm checking the indexes to make sure it's in order. I'll speed up this part because it kind of takes a while for me to check all the line of indexes and make sure they're correct. Now that it's done, I'm going to open it in the game and see if it works. I haven't done the brightness on each layer yet, but I'll do that later. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to put a bump in the left side just to make sure it doesn't bug out when I move all the way to the left. Apparently I got the heights wrong, so I'll go check the sector index. Then I'll make another sector, but I'll set all the line depths on the front side to be that sector index, so that way I can change the heights without having to redo the whole trick. On the part of the side depth where it shows the texture, it says it's on sector 172, so that's what I'm going to set the other sector to. I'll speed up this part because it took me a while to actually do it. I'm going to uncheck the back side and then I'm going to set the front side to 172. So that way I can modify the heights without having to redo the whole trick. There's another sector between that I need to change the height of as well, so I'll get the index and I'll repeat the same thing there. I'll speed up this part too because it took me a while to do this. So it works here. I can repeat this for all of the switches, and since I'm going to be doing the same thing, I'm going to speed up the whole part and show you the thing when it's finished. So of course I still messed it up and I got the alignment wrong. I'll just fix the alignment and then restart the thing. Okay, now the alignment is correct. You'll see minor shimmering, but the whole trick works. It should also work in vanilla. So yeah, that should all be it.